Now the last news from Cgtn and all about China. All about China. I'm going to read South China Morning Post.
No incentives el comercio ambulante, comprando o dando dinero. Juntos, construyamos un mejor viaje.
Right to the last one. COP30 divisions consensus goals amid global climate urgency. 4 minutes, a huge text, a big text. The ongoing 13th UN Climate Change Conference, or COP30, held in Belém, Brazil, has seen both divisions and areas of consensus among participating countries as they discuss the urgent issue of global climate change. The reality of climate change is undeniable, with many already experiencing extreme weather events, highlighting the importance of moving from discussion to decisive action at this critical timing. According to a recent report by the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, the mean near surface temperature between January to August 2025 was 1.42 degrees Celsius, plus minus 0.12 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average. Concentrations of heat-trapping greenhouse gases and ocean heat content, which both reach record levels in 2024, continue to rise in 2025. Quote,
Estación Valencia.
this unprecedented streak of high temperatures combined with last year's record increase in greenhouse gas levels makes it clear that it will be virtually impossible to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius in the next few years without temporarily overshooting this target. But the science is equally clear that it's still entirely possible and essential to bring temperatures back down to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, end quote, said WMO Secretary General Celeste Saulo. This alarming trend underscores a core issue of COP30, the gap between current actions and the global climate targets that need to be met. Quote, it's no longer time for negotiation, it's time for implementation. Implementation and implementation. For implementation and implementation. Implementation time, urged the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres at the plenary of leaders of the Belém Climate Summit ahead of COP30. Current challenges is in driving implementation. Under the Paris Agreement, all parties must submit and periodically update their nationally determined contributions and NDCs, national climate plans that outline each country's efforts to reduce emissions and adapt to climate impacts. So far, a total of 118 countries have submitted their new NDCs. Wang Yi, Vice Chair of China's National Expert Committee of Climate Change, said that a major challenge in implementing NDCs is ensuring the adequacy and ambition of these goals. Quote, there is a need to assess how much these pledges fall short of global targets, end quote. Moreover, developing countries require support to achieve their NDCs, such as financial aid, without which it will be difficult for them to achieve targets, said Wang. The adaptation to climate change is also a central topic of this year's discussions, he added. Subtitle: U.S. absent from COP30. The United States, the world's largest economy and the largest historical emitter, did not send an official delegation to COP30, which has a significant impact. Quote, this conference has been particularly challenging, and one of the main reasons is the U.S. absence for the first time, end quote, said China's special envoy for climate change, Liu Shenming. As a superpower and the largest developed nation, the U.S.'s absence has significantly impacted the integrity of multilateral climate cooperation, said Liu. Furthermore, it has caused difficulties in internal coordination among developed countries, with some saying that they are not yet prepared to fill the gap left by the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. Quote, this has made it significantly harder to achieve high-quality outcomes at this conference, end quote, noted Liu. One echoed Liu's remarks, saying the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement for the second time was even more pronounced, as it not only refused to take action but actively influenced other countries to follow suit, which has affected many countries' strength and ambition in taking action. Subtitle: China proposed NDCs, quote-unquote, ambitious and pragmatic. China announced its 2035 NDCs in September. NDCs, I don't remember. I don't know, actually. It's not quinquennial something. Pledging to reduce economy-wide net greenhouse gas emissions by 7% to 10% from peak levels, increase the share of non-fossil fuels in total energy consumption to over 30%, expand the installed capacity of wind and solar power to over 6 times the 2020 levels, striving to bring the total of 3,600 gigawatts, scale up the total forest stock volume to over 24 billion cubic meters, make new energy vehicles the mainstream in the sales of new vehicles, expand the national carbon emissions trading market to cover major high emission sectors, and basically establish a climate adaptive society. Pan Jiahua, vice chair of China's National Expert Committee on Climate Change, hailed two major breakthroughs in China's 2035 NDCs: the inclusion of all greenhouse gases, not just CO2 in its targets, and the introduction of an absolute emission reduction goal. Wang described the NDCs as both, quote-unquote, as both ambitious and pragmatic, end quote. Quote, by setting clear goals, China hopes to have more concrete ways to implement them and strives to do better, end quote, said Wang. And that was the very last one. And now I'm going to see if I have internet just to read the South China Morning Post. South China Morning. There it is, but I guess this is a paid newspaper. It's not for free. You cannot read it all. Okay, let's read the first one. South China Morning Post Science. Chief scientist at China's top naval research institute detained over quote-unquote faked credentials. Jiangsu University of Science and Technology says it has fired Huawei over the accusations of academic misconduct. Regular medium-sized news of 3 minutes. Dania Peng in Beijing. November 20, the chief scientist at the university that plays a major role in developing China's navy has been detained as part of an investigation into alleged academic misconduct and misuse of state research funds, according to local media reports. Jiangsu University of Science and Technology confirmed on Thursday that Wang Wei's case was under investigation and said his academic contract had been terminated over the accusations. The university was founded in 1953 in response to Mao Zedong's call for the development of a powerful navy and was the first technical institution specializing in shipbuilding in the People's Republic of China. And that's it. So send me money for me to read South China Morning Post.